All right, today we're diving into something that's really changing the game in software development. We're talking about going from a single line of code all the way to a live application in the cloud, but with an AI copilot guiding the entire trip. Let's get right into it. But first, let's just ask a really basic question. If you've ever been involved with a software project, you know this feeling. Getting an app from just an idea into the hands of users, it can be a massive undertaking. It's often super complex, kind of frustrating, and just incredibly difficult. So why is that? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle can be summed up with an analogy I really like, the Kubernetes mountain. Just imagine it's the highest, most powerful peak in the world of software. If you can get to the top, the power you have is incredible. But man, the climb is famously dangerous. So, what even is Kubernetes? Simply put, it's this incredibly powerful system that manages applications running across a whole bunch of computers. You can almost think of it like an operating system, but for the entire cloud. It handles all the messy, complex stuff so your apps can run reliably, even at a massive scale. Here's the catch, though. Climbing this mountain the old-fashioned way, it's brutal. The setup alone is a nightmare, the learning curve is practically a vertical cliff, and you find yourself writing these super long, complicated configuration files for hours. And even if you make it to the top, you're constantly tweaking things by hand just to keep it all from falling apart. You basically need a whole team of expert Sherpas just to even get started. But what if you didn't need that whole team of human experts? What if you had your own personal AI copilots, these specialized guides for each and every part of your journey to the cloud? Well, that's exactly the idea we're digging into today. Okay, so your first guide on this journey is an AI agent named Gordon. And Gordon's whole job, its specialty, is that very first step, packaging your application and getting it ready for the climb.
Gordon just makes this first step incredibly simple. It looks at your application's code, both the part the user sees and all the logic in the back, and it automatically spits out these things called Docker files. These are basically the instruction manuals needed to package everything up neatly into a standardized little box. The whole configuration part is just done for you.
So once Gordon has all your gear packed and ready, you mate your second guide, kubectl-ai. This one is your deployment commander. It's the AI that actually figures out the best path up the mountain.
And you know what? This is where the real magic happens. Instead of you having to learn the super complex language of Kubernetes, you just tell kubectl-ai what you want in plain English. It gets what you're trying to do, translates it into all the technical gobbledygook, and then creates the actual deployment blueprints. They're called Helm charts to make it all happen.
And finally, once you've actually reached the summit and your app is live, your third guide takes over. Meet Kagent. This is the AI that makes sure everything stays safe and healthy while you're enjoying the view from the peak. Think of Kagent as your tireless watchguard. It's constantly monitoring the health of your application, 24/7. But it does more than just watch. It's actively optimizing how your app uses resources, always looking for ways to make it run more efficiently. That means better performance, and this is a big one, lower cloud bills. Okay, so we've met our team of AI guides. Let's actually see what this AI-assisted climb looks like. This is the part where we stop writing complicated code and just start having a conversation with our tools. And wow, this slide just says it all, doesn't it? On the left, that's the old way, a huge, dense block of code that's super easy to mess up and takes an expert to even read. And on the right, that's the new way, a simple, clear sentence in English. Deploy the front end with 3 replicas. That's it. That's the entire command. It's just incredible. Now, for this specific climb, the whole thing is happening in a safe little training area called Minikube. All you need to know is that it's basically a complete, tiny version of that huge Kubernetes cloud, but it runs right on your laptop. It lets you practice the whole thing before you go live to the world. So, getting your app out there is now way, way easier. But what happens when your app gets popular? Like really popular, and you need to handle way more users? Well, now we scale to the summit, using automation to hit those new heights. Remember that simple command from before, deploy the front end with 3 replicas? Well, here's what happens. Instantly, Kubernetes creates 3 identical copies of your application. So if one has a problem, or if traffic suddenly spikes, the other 2 are right there to pick up the slack. Getting this kind of reliability used to be a massive headache to set up. Now, it's just part of a sentence. And what about the backend, the real engine of your app? With these AI co-pilots, it just scales automatically. The system literally watches the demand in real time and adds or removes resources exactly when needed. No human has to step in, ever. It's a completely hands-off way to manage growth.
And this is where our third guide, Kagent, really earns its keep. This chart shows you exactly why. That high bar, that's what a typical manual setup looks like, where people tend to give an app way more resources than it needs just to be safe. You're just wasting money. That lower bar, that's Kagent at work, actively fine-tuning everything in real time to cut out all that waste. So let's pull back for a second and take in that view from the summit. What does this new AI-assisted world really mean for the future of how we build technology?
Well, the payoff is just immense. Getting your software out there is dramatically faster. Since you're using human language instead of picky, error-prone code, you cut down on mistakes big time. And maybe most importantly, this throws the doors wide open for so many more people to deploy powerful apps, not just the Kubernetes gurus. And all of it is just running with this incredible automated efficiency. But if there's one really crucial point to take away from all this, it's this. We're watching a fundamental change in how we humans interact with our most complex systems. All of those technical, complicated operations needed to run the modern internet, they're shifting away from a cryptic language of code and are becoming, well, a simple conversation. And that leaves us with a final, really powerful question to think about. If the main barrier to building and launching world-class software is no longer a deep technical expertise, but just the ability to describe what you want, when coding becomes a conversation, who gets to be a builder?